Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to a brand new HFSB news video. Today we've got a pretty interesting video, not one that I was expecting to do after the first, sprint race weekend in MotoGP. Brand new era now, obviously, with these little races we have on the Saturday for the Premier class. Makes the weekend I guess a little bit more enjoyable. I mean, me personally, I enjoyed the sprint race. I don't really have any sort of negative views on it. I think it also did make, the practice sessions a little bit more entertaining, which we're going to get onto in a little bit regarding that. But we're going to be talking about the amount of injuries that we have picked up. Now, this is only going to be the Premier class, the MotoGP class. The amount of injuries in just one weekend has been, off the roof. I mean, we're used to seeing injuries throughout the year, but to have 5 riders and 4 riders out of the next race, all in one weekend is something else. And you could definitely maybe point some fingers at the sprint race format, because it does make all the riders have to push that bit more throughout practice and to get the qualifying spots. So it's a little bit less of just riding around and concentrating on race pace. You've got to do all these qualifying sims before you even get to qualifying, and then you got to do a race, and then you got to do another race. So you could maybe point some fingers at that, possibly, for the amount of incidents we have seen in this race. But there could be many factors. Obviously, they're new bikes also, so first race and that. But let's get into the amount of injuries we have here, because this is definitely not looking good. And like I say, this is the Premier class. These are the big boys, and to have 4 out of the next Grand Prix is pretty ridiculous. So we're going to start off with Pol Espargaro. This was definitely the worst crash we saw this weekend. This was a really bad one from Pol Espargaro. Very unfortunate. I was really looking forward to see him on the gas, but obviously a KTM bike, returning back to that team and that manufacturer, because before he left to the Honda, things were going pretty well. And when he came back, in the pre-season testing and that, the team and himself, both of them, were pretty excited to get back to working together. But unfortunately, obviously, that didn't quite go to plan. And Pol Espargaro has picked up a jaw fracture, a pulmonary contusion, and a fractured dorsal vertebra. So he's going to be out long term. There is no window of comeback whatsoever with Pol Espargaro. It's going to be a long recovery for him. Like I said, that was a very nasty crash, the way it all happened, and then going into the wall. Very lucky to only come away with these things, even though these are big injuries. But to only come away with this, considering the impact that he had, is pretty extraordinary. Then we got Enea Bastianini. Now, this was a collision with Luca Marini in the sprint race, and the collision itself was pretty, we've seen crashes similar to that in the past, but it was just the way that the bike clipped Enea Bastianini and the way it flicked him out. Just the timing of it all was pretty rough for Enea Bastianini, and he has broke his shoulder blade, his scapula. And like I said, he won't be in the next Grand Prix. He is ruled out also, but he does hope to come back for the American Grand Prix, because he doesn't have to go undergo surgery. So we could see him back for the American GP. Obviously, we'll see on that. I will make sure to leave updates down in the comments, if these riders will come back for the American GP or if they won't. Then we've got Marc Marquez, who caused a calamity in this Grand Prix. He's got a right hand fracture. I believe it was something to do with the thumb, but I'm not too sure on that one. But he did have to go undergo surgery, and it does look like he'll be looking to return also for the American GP, and that is where he will have to serve his penalty, which obviously was meant to be served in Argentina, but he will be missing that GP also. So yeah, Marc Marquez there coming away with a light one. Luckily for him, obviously he's picked up quite severe injuries in the last couple of years. And then we got Miguel Oliveira with some badly damaged leg contusions. That was a rough collision for him, and luckily he only got away with some leg contusions. I mean, that bike of Marc Marquez went straight into him at pretty high speeds, and the angle and everything, if you consider everything that was involved in that collision, to only come out with a battered up leg is pretty lucky. But yeah, he will be missing the Argentinian Grand Prix also, because when they underwent some further examinations, the damage looked a little bit worse than what it did at the beginning. So they're the riders that are going to be missing out on the next Grand Prix. Then we do also have Hijomeatman. He has, I think it was broke a toe or something like that in his foot when Marquez just rammed his foot, and he's got a badly beaten up ankle, but he will be in the next Grand Prix. So yeah, plenty of injuries and recuperation process now for the Premier class. And like I said at the beginning of the video, you could possibly point your fingers at the sprint race, format, because if you really think about it, they've took away a practice session. I know practice is boring, don't get me wrong. I mean, just seeing bikes just riding around doing race pace stuff isn't the most entertaining thing in the world, but it is very interesting, and to see those times and sort of try and predict what is going to happen on the Sunday. It really sort of depends on what kind of fan you are of the sport. So for me, I liked both of them. I really don't mind what we sort of do with the sport, but you could say before, with the extra practice session that there was, you had a session for the race pace, which was usually FP4, and then you would have the other ones where obviously they would work on race pace and stuff, and then do a little qualifying sim right at the end. Whereas if you look at the weekend now, it's sort of like you've got to be on the ball straight away, because you need to try and secure them spots for the qualifying, and then that's going to determine where you're going to start in 2 different races. So you've got to be on the limit a little bit more than what you would have been last season, and there's also a lot more at risk, obviously, because if you do pick up an injury like these riders here, you're not missing out on 1 race anymore. You're missing out on 2 every single weekend that you miss. So like I say, you could point the fingers at that, but I don't know. Honestly, I was quite shocked to see the amount of injuries that we did see in 1 race weekend, and just from the Premier class alone, so not ideal. But yeah guys, what are your thoughts on it? Do you like the sprint race weekend format, or do you think it might just be a little bit too much? Maybe they need another practice or something chucked in there so they can just have time to set up their bikes and know what the actual limit is, instead of rocking up on Friday and trying to break the lap record. That's pretty much what MotoGP is right now, if you think about it. So leave it down in the comments, leave a like and subscribe for more content as always, and I will see you with some brand new videos very soon.